15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
Network Studios in the hub of the universe, the entertainment capital of New England, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. This is Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Long time no talk to.
I know. I know.
Welcome to Subject Cinema 2.0, episode number 659, October 3rd, 2021. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
I was looking at something with a number 13 over here. It is on our brand new, we got a brand new system in, brand new equipment, brand new recording program, brand new everything. Brand new logo. Brand new logo.
Same old host, though.
Huh?
Same old host.
Same old host, yeah, but hopefully we sound a little bit better than we
hopefully,
have.
Yeah.
How was your 2 months?
Well, they've been pretty much spent the way we've spent since the middle of 2019 here. We hope everybody's keeping safe and ignore the beeping sounds occasionally. That happens to be my phone. Shush. We hope everybody's doing well in the middle of this brave new world that we're dealing with. I mean, there's a lot of people that are being like, oh, everything's fine now. Everything's back to normal. That's crap.
Yeah, you need to get a little closer to the mic, too, because
right?
It's not picky. You keep going in and out. Yeah,
okay, sorry.
I'm just watching the meters, because this is the first time we've worked together on this. We have a brand new system, new microphones, new mixing board, top of the line right now for podcasting, and I'm still getting used to watching a little bit and keeping an eye on it, so... Right. I'm sure I'll be able to fix all the nooks and crannies over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Why are we calling this 2.0? Because we're pretty much giving ourselves a fresh start.
Yeah.
We have a brand new logo, and it's going to be up on the website and on everything. That you'll see it when you pull it up, and it'll be attached to the show. But we basically want to say we're starting from scratch with this, and we couldn't think of a better way to do this than our Halloween shows every year. So Silent Screams this year. You want to explain what that is?
Well,
should I sing? It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Well, it is for me. I mean,
yeah.
Well, it that's the truth. I mean, when it comes to this time of year, this is my time of year because let's face it, it's Halloween in my head 24/7, 365.
Isn't that a scary thought? I have to live with that. Well, I do.
Thanks. I love you too.
I love you, but I have to live with that stuff.
Yes, you do.
It's just kind of the way it is.
No, that's the truth. Yeah. But we were talking about what do we want to talk about this year for Halloween films, and we've done, we've looked at all, the Universal classics and specific directors and authors and things like that. So it occurred to me that we hadn't done anything on silent films, silent horror films, and so that's why we decided to do Silent Screams this year. And
so everything we're doing for the month of October is a silent film.
Yep.
Which is really kind of crazy. They're not really silent. They have music, most of them, but it's like when we say silent, of course, it means that there's title cards and stuff.
There's title cards. The dialogue is silent, and I mean, when you went to a silent movie back in the day, you had somebody there playing the music. You had somebody there with a piano or whatever. I don't believe they had full orchestras with silent films back in the day, probably because they couldn't afford it. But, they had somebody there with a piano or an organ or whatever. And
when we went to see Metropolis at the Coolidge, they had a 4-piece or a 5-piece. Or three-piece, actually,
no, it was three-piece, I think.
Yeah. I've forgotten the name of the orchestra that wrote this original score for Metropolis, but it was a blast.
Which was really amazing.
I'd love to do that again. It was so much fun.
We were so lucky to be able to see Metropolis like that. Now, a lot of people might think that the horror movie genre, doesn't really work well with silent films. And I would disagree with that. When it comes to horror films, a lot of people think of horror films as, you have the dramatic sting when something scary happens. You have people screaming their lungs out. You have, evil laughter, also known as the moo-ha-ha, or, like that.
KingoMooHaha.com.
You have monsters growling and werewolves howling and, clanking chains. And these are a few of my favorite things. No, anyway, I'm sorry. But when you take that all away, you have to come up with something else that's going to keep people invested in your story. And, we've actually been, like I said, we were lucky enough to see Metropolis on the big screen. We also saw The Artist, when it came out, and people were like, "What? A silent movie in 2000 whatever?"
9, I think.
And we were
12,
like,
I forget which.
When we saw it, we were like, "This is either going to be really awesome or it's going to suck." And both of us were like, "That movie was freaking amazing."
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And there are things that you have to work very hard at when it comes to the genre of horror with a silent film, because you don't have some of the things that you would have in a talkie. You don't have somebody walking up a set of rickety stairs and you hear creak, 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 and then the person stops and then behind them you're hearing creak, 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 and you're all going, "Oh crap." You don't have that. Or like something as, when you think about a horror film, even though I don't consider it a horror film, but we're not going to go into that right now, something like Psycho with the shower scene. I mean, picture that without sound, not just without music. I mean, the whole reep, reep, reep. I mean, that's really important to that scene.
Right.
But picture how that would sound with nothing, with no shower noise, with no screaming or anything like that. It seems so weird. So we decided to do this idea because, ever since people have been around, horror has been around. Horror has always been there. I mean, it's really strange when you think about, as long as there have been people telling stories, there have always been three very specific types of stories that have been out there that people have told. People have told stories of heroes, which is something that people are supposed to aspire to.
Okay.
People have told stories of love, which is something else that people are supposed to, the whole idea of finding someone that's your soulmate and stuff like that.
Okay.
And people have told stories about what's out there in the dark. Now, whether or not that was just a story told to scare the crap out of their audience, or if it was told in a way to warn people about the dangers of the world out there, beyond the light of your campfire or your village or whatever, and your cities as civilization has moved forward, Dr. Evil quotes.
Right.
Horror has always been there in literature. One of the most famous broadcasts ever was a horror / science fiction broadcast of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, done by the Mercury Theater. And that scared the crap out of people.
Yeah, it
Not
did.
as badly as some people would like to make it seem like it did.
And this, by the way, it's October. You can check out our version from 2018 on our website, on our YouTube site.
But like I said, horror has always been part of the motion picture industry. I mean, one of the first iterations of Frankenstein was done by Thomas Edison's studio, with the monster as kind of this. I don't really know what they were going for. I mean, I'll be really honest. I don't know what they were going for as this kind of shapen hunchback thing.
Right.
And then you have a film like Nosferatu, which we will get into later on this
It's coming
month.
up.
It's
yeah,
coming.
it's coming up this month.
And there's this film, which, wow.
We are going to be, today's show is going to be focusing on what is considered the first horror film. It is, at least by some critics, Roger Ebert once called it the first true horror film. 1920 German horror film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Das Kabinett des Dr. Caligari, from the Weimar Republic era in Germany, and directed by Robert W-I-E-N-E Wien. Would that be Wien?
I think it would be Wien, yeah.
Wien. Written by Hans Janowitz and Karl Mayer, and is considered the top German expressionist film. This was... why don't you give us an overview of the film and then we'll talk about it, because it's like, wow.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari begins with a young man sitting with another gentleman, and they're talking about rather strange subjects. The older gentleman is saying how the spirits have driven him away from his family and loved ones and all this stuff like that. And as this young man and this older man are talking, a woman comes walking by them who looks like she's in some sort of a trance or a daze or got a hold of some really good weed. It turns out that she, according to the young man, is his fiance, and that they have been through this great trial together. As it turns out, most of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a flashback, which also has a flashback in a flashback. So for those of you who thought Inception was the most confusing movie you've ever seen...
No, Inception is still more confusing. It's still a great movie, but it's still more confusing than this was.
This movie is kind of like what would happen if you took the confusion level in Inception and Memento and put them both together and hit yourself in the head. I mean, but not in a bad way, because when you realize what's going on with this film, you're like, oh, okay. I never got that with Memento. I'm sorry. The point of the film and the flashback is that this young man and his friend went to a fair and saw a performance by a Dr. Caligari and his feature act, which is a somnambulist named Caesar or
Cesare or
Cesare or however
anything
you're going to say it.
If you get the Cesare remark, email me, because nobody's going to get that. Anyway.
Well, I don't get it. So. Somnambulism is apparently something like, it's like sleepwalking, but not. I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of like somewhere in between sleepwalking and totally being awake. And Cesar has apparently been in this state from the sound of it, for most of his life. I'm like, I'm sorry, don't we call that a coma now? But not trying to be like light about things like that.
No.
So and according to the doctor who presents this guy, literally in a cabinet, when they talk about the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, we're not talking a metaphorical cabinet. He's actually got this poor bastard in a cabinet, this big wooden cabinet. I'm like, that must be comfortable to hang out in all day long. And
it looks like a giant refrigerator box made of wood. Yeah. Basically. It's not a very big, it doesn't look like a coffin, it doesn't look like a casket.
No, it doesn't look nice enough. It's very large. It doesn't look nice enough to be a coffin or a casket or as comfortable. How
would they know?
Well, most coffins have silk and stuff. And,
but they're not feeling anything. They don't care if they're comfortable. They're already dead.
I've often wondered about that, but
anyway, sorry.
I've never been in a situation. Every time I've thought about that, it's been at a wake, and I've been like, if I bring that up, I'm going to get tossed out, and we don't want to go through that again. No, that's a joke.
She's kidding.
That was a joke.
Real. That never happened.
That was a joke. The thing is, this somnambulist apparently can be woken up. I'm like, didn't you just say that? Oh, well, you're the doctor. You know what's going on. According to his hype before the main event, Cesar can predict the future. He can see into people's minds, blah, 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 blah. So, as I said, this young man, Francis, is at this fair with his friend, Alan. And Alan decides he's going to ask Cesar to predict his future, or he asks him a question about his future. Now, usually when you get in these kind of situations, I think most people would ask, hey, what's the winning lottery number? Or who's going to win it, the Kentucky Derby or whatever.
Or are you in what army? Laurie Anderson joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Why don't you get a real job or get a horse? Anyway, no, Alan, in his brilliance, decides that he's going to ask.
Brilliance?
Well,
really? Really?
Yeah,
Okay, sure. Why not? All right.
In a moment of forehead-slapping stupidity, decides to ask Cesar when is he going to die. Cesar's answer...
No, actually, no. You got to put it right.
How long will I live?
How long will I live? You
yes.
got to put it right. Otherwise, it's going to not make any sense.
He asks, how long will I live? And Cesar answers him that he won't live until the morning.
Until tomorrow at dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan is perturbed.
To put it mildly.
And since this is a silent movie, nobody's doing anything small.
I could make a really bad joke here, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Like I said, Alan is upset because I think most people would be upset that someone said you're going to die before noon the next day. And so, but Francis is all basically like, don't worry about it and all that stuff like that. Now, like I said, since this is a silent film, nobody's emotions or acting or anything like that is small. Everything is exaggerated because it's a silent film and you have to really, really, really tack 75 more reallys on there. You have to emote.
Right.
So Alan, instead of like...
You guys ever see the original opening of the PBS series Mystery, where the woman is like looking, swoon, fall on the fainting couch? That's what this is like.
Pretty much. So Alan, instead of doing, like fleeing the country or something like that or whatever, he just goes home and goes to bed. That doesn't work out really well. At all.
And all kinds of other things start to happen because we don't want to give away everything.
Mysterious figure kills him, and there's all kinds of murder and mayhem and craziness. And please pay attention to the last word I just said. Craziness.
Well, that's it. That's actually part of the plot. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the movie starred Werner Krauss as Dr. Caligari, Conrad Veidt in an early role before coming over to America as Cesar, Friedrich Feher as Francis, Lil Dagover as Jane, whose name is not mentioned anywhere that I could see.
It is at the very end.
Is it at the very end?
At the very end.
Because we were calling her fiancé. Because
we never got a name.
Hans-Heinz V. Twardowski as Alan, and Rudolf Lettinger as Dr. Olson, who I think is the gentleman he's
Jane's father.
Jane's the one he's working with, which is Jane's father.
Yeah.
Okay, this was your idea. We had a list of like silent films, and we wanted to see which ones we were checking out. You decided on this one first. Mm-hmm. Why did you pick this first?
I've never seen it.
Well, I've never seen it either.
I've heard about it.
I haven't seen any of the silent films we're going to look at this month.
I've heard about it pretty much since I was old enough to be like, horror was something I was into. Mm-hmm. And I've seen pictures of it in books ever since I was very young, and like checking books out of the library about horror movies and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it always intrigued me. And I've also seen parts of this movie in videos. Like I've seen it used in videos by Rob Zombie and other artists and things like that. And it just, the whole concept intrigued me. Just the idea of how do you make a movie about a guy that's a sleepwalker? And I was like, okay, so this is how you do it. All right.
This film, it does embrace in a big way German expressionism. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've seen some of the stuff from the 20s and even into the 30s in Germany, a lot of this stuff is big and bold. I don't know if Metropolis would be considered expressionist or not. It has a very...
Certain scenes.
Parts of it.
Certain scenes are definitely.
But, I mean, wow. This thing's styling. Now, we saw the restored version from Kino Lorber, mm-hmm.
which
has an original soundtrack on it. And I I was sitting there going, wait a minute, they didn't have electric guitars in 1920. They were in until 1940 or something.
I liked the music in this.
It was good.
Simply because the music is very, at certain points, exceedingly off-putting. They're not trying to make beautiful music.
No, what did you call it when we were watching it? You said they were having
a psychotic break.
A psychotic break.
More than once. Well, there was a couple of times it sounded like the guitar player was falling down a flight of stairs.
Guitar, saxophone, clarinet. I mean, it's all kind of nuts.
But it was really important to the film because the music is so disjointed and it never gives you a chance to settle. And I think that really is important.
Yeah, and the movie, the movie does not have or was not written with a soundtrack, music soundtrack, as far as I can find. They used, usually when it aired here or played here in America, they used certain classical pieces with it. And so it does not have, this is original score, I believe, written for the Kino Lorber restoration. I don't know for sure, but visually, this movie is mind blowing.
It is,
really,
absolutely.
It's not. You think of silent films, you think black and white, or you think sepia tone, and this is neither. And it's like, okay, wow.
There's the thing about this film that I think is really something that, especially this cut of it, is that it does have this whole feeling about it, like almost like a dream, but not a nice dream. This isn't like the, skipping through a field of flowers dream. This is the, you have to get to class and you haven't studied for a test and you're naked dream, or it's not a nightmare. It's not an actual nightmare. It's those dreams.
This is what we would term, I believe the term is fever dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's these dreams where you wake up and go, what the hell was that? That kind
Both of which
dream.
we're experts at.
Yeah. It's not the ones where you wake up screaming. It's the ones where you wake up going, I need a nap. Because you're so upset by it, but you're not like screaming or crying or anything like that. The sets in this are so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. I brought it up to you.
Yeah, and I didn't really notice it until you pointed it out, but everything is angled. Every single scene, every building, every window, every walkway has a weird angle to it.
Nothing is set. Nothing is set right.
It's not level.
Yeah. Everything just looks.
There's a reason for this, but
off.
it doesn't come obvious right away.
Yeah, everything is just kind of set. I don't want to go as far as to call it like a Dutch angle, like they used in the 60s Batman.
No,
TV
it doesn't go that
with
far.
that.
It doesn't go that far. It's not the angles itself. It's the design of the set pieces. Mm-hmm. The set pieces are literally angled, and it's with different.
It's all sharp. Everything about this film is sharp. There's nothing smooth about this film. There's no moment in the film where you feel any feeling of
there isn't anything smooth about this film.
Why?
Rob Thomas wasn't alive yet. Or Carlos Santana, for that matter.
I can't believe you actually went there.
Why not?
I can't believe you honestly actually
Oh, come on.
went
I
there.
always go there. Anyway, go ahead. I'm
You
sorry.
do.
I have to do something. I'm not saying much here.
The thing about this film is that it's from the very beginning of it, you have this feeling of discomfort. You have this feeling like something is off about everything, about everyone. You have the scene at the very beginning with Francis and the man, where they're in the middle of a conversation when you as the audience are allowed into this. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a scene where they're just sitting there and they just start talking. They're in the middle of a conversation, so already you feel like an interloper. You feel like you're seeing something that maybe you shouldn't be seeing, and you're hearing something you shouldn't be hearing, and that's where that moment of discomfort starts, I think.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have Jane walking by with this. I'm like, I've seen zombies that have more life to them.
Oh, you know something?
What?
That just occurred to me, too.
What?
Her name is Jane.
So?
Right. Jefferson Starship has a song called Jane, and Orange Cassidy uses it as a theme song when he's in the Indies, and that he's just as laid back as she is. So it's like, okay, whatever.
That's true. You're not wrong about that.
When you're on the Rosie's coming back soon.
Although
anyway.
I don't think he look as good as in the dress.
No. But anyway.
It's a nice dress.
Thank
so
goodness he didn't
it.
get his head shaved the other night.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Eek. And then you come to the character of Cesar, who is so disturbing. And it's really weird because you look at some other moments in silent horror where you've got really disturbing looking, I don't want to use the word monster, but you have really disturbing looking characters. You have Count Orlok from Nosferatu. You have the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera. And I mean, you look at those characters and you're like, check, please. You know, I'm out, because they're terrifying looking.
Yeah.
And then
everybody here is pretty normal looking except for
Cesar. But the thing is, he even there, he doesn't look like, you know, he doesn't have like fangs or claws.
He just has giant bags under his eyes.
He just looks like this dead person. I mean, he looks like, I'm like, if he's been asleep for 20 something years, how come he's got these big dark circles under his eyes? It's like, okay. I mean, I know it's a silent film and everybody looked like they had their makeup put on with a palette.
Yeah. I've never understood that particular aspect of silent films. Why was it necessary to like do such crazy makeup work? Because you're still seeing fine. You're not like it. I mean, in this movie with all the different hues and tones and tints and stuff, that's a different story, and it does add to the accentuation. But in a regular silent film, like you would see, like The Artist or something like from Max Sennett back in the 20s and 30s, you didn't really need to do that. It's all straight black and white.
No, and everybody's got like Rocket Raccoon cosplay starting or something with the dark circles around the eyes. But that's the thing, though. Cesar is, I mean, he just looks like a dude. I mean, he just looks like your kind of average creepy goth guy. And there's nothing, I mean, other than the fact that you're looking at this guy and going, geez, dude, have you heard of tanning?
Well, he's stuck in a cabinet. How's he supposed to get tan? Unless they put like ultraviolet lights in there.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean.
Well, you know what I mean.
Or a spray tanning outfit.
That there's nothing about him that would instantly make you go, whoa, that's not good. Like there is with, like I said, with Count Orlok or the Phantom of the Opera, or a character like that, where you instantly look at them and go, okay, that's the monster. Thank you, movie. There, you don't have that with, and also you can't. At least I feel a lot of sympathy for Cesar because he's basically under the control of this doctor. He has no free will of his own. He's basically being used as the doctor's blunt object to go out and do the things that the doctor wants him to do. And I feel bad. You know, I'm like, oh, that sucks. You know, it's the whole, I mean, that's the one thing that separates us, if you take that attitude. That's one of the things that separates us from the beasts is the idea of free will, is the whole concept of free will. And to take that away from somebody else is abhorrent to us as a species. I don't care where you're from.
Right, okay.
I mean, everybody has their own thing in whatever country and whatever society you have. But the idea that you as a human being have an innate amount of free will, to have somebody else take that away from you, that is a deep, deep spiritual violation.
Right. I think so. That makes sense to me.
I think that that's something that really, and I think that that's something that really gets touched on in the film that I don't think this film could have been made any place else or anywhere else and have it have the impact that it did. Right. Because the people who made this film and the people who were involved with this film had seen their country go through, you know, there's a reason they called it, you know, the Great War. You know, there's a reason that they did that. And they saw young men who didn't, I mean, these weren't people that were trained to kill from, like, you know, children or something like that. They were just men. And all
they
of
were
a sudden,
less than a year out from it at this point.
And all of a sudden the government's like, well, you got to go over there and kill those people because we say so. You know, and it's that kind of thing that I think that made that made this film necessary because it kind of shows. I mean, I don't think that they were trying to make any kind of anti-nationalism statement with this film.
I don't think so. No,
I think they were just trying to tell a scary story.
Yeah,
but
I think that I think it's very much just a horror story, and much in the vein as Poe stuff would be, or whatever.
Right? Yeah, definitely. And it does have that weird. I mean, flashbacks in films, as we know now, years and years and years down the road, that's not a new thing. You have flashbacks. Some films are you wind up telling the whole film is basically a flashback, except like you'll have the beginning and the end of the film that bookends it, and everything else is a flashback. And I can think of one film that does that perfectly, and that's Double Indemnity. I mean, other than the beginning and the end of that film, everything else is a
already
flashback.
Happened. Right, yeah. Because that's what he's dictating into the dictaphone. Right, yeah.
And I think, and it's done so well, but for this film to do the flashback in the flashback, it's like, what the, It's one of those moments where you kind of go, wait, did that actually happen? You have that a lot with this film. And it's not a super long film.
It's an hour and 15 minutes, 74 minutes in the restored version. And yeah, one of the things that's most disconcerting about everything is the way that the set is designed. We talked about the angles, but even the rooms, like you're walking down this darkened staircase to the jail cells, and the jail cells doors are triangular and they open into these weird, like almost arch-like rooms, and then you have the triangular doors in other buildings, and you have this guy, the town clerk, seated on this 8-foot tall stool.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what the hell were they going for?
Well, the thing with the clerk on the giant stool, I like that because I think that's kind of like a symbol of bureaucracy.
I suppose.
And the whole idea that the way that he talks to people, it's the whole idea that you give certain people a little amount of power and it goes right to their heads.
Right,
I mean, the fact that he's ordering people around and telling people to wait, and you don't do things till I tell you to do them. And this guy's some little pissant government worker, but he's on this big high chair, so that that gives him some authority. The thing with the jail cell, I think that's a really amazing shot when you look at it. Is that you have they're looking into the cell where this prisoner is, and it starts out and the room seems wider, and it seems to almost narrow to the point where the prisoner is at the end of the room, where he's chained and he's got this big ball and chain on his leg, and it's almost it's very weird to say it like this. It almost makes the room look like it's accusing him, almost like the room is like a pointing finger,
like the M.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the expressionist thing.
Yeah, it is.
There is one thing that I want to bring up that it's a weird thing to bring up, and it's just probably a me thing. We have this scene at the beginning of the film where the fair is starting, and we have people walking around and stuff like that. And in the background, you can see things that are going on at the fair. And that's one of the other things that seems really off about this is we can't even see what kind of rides they are. We just see
only see the tops. They look like carousels, but they only see the top of the carousel.
They look like they might be a carousel or something.
And they're going at 165 miles an hour.
I'm like, the people on this thing must be... I'm like, it's a good thing it's a silent movie because these people would be doing this. Help us, we've been on here for 85 days. It was just, oh my gosh, I was like, why are those things going so fast?
And they go down this weird staircase to get down to where the fair is. It's lower than the camera level, which makes it really kind of off-putting. That's why you can't see everything about it.
Right.
And it makes it very disoriented.
Disconcerting.
Disorienting.
Everything about this movie is designed to make you feel like something is wrong. And the thing is, it's that there's something wrong, but you can't put your finger on what it is. And then you get to the end of the film, and you're like...
Oh, we should have seen that coming.
It's like, well, I feel stupid. You get to the end of the film, and you get the big reveal, which we're not going to give you. Ha ha.
No.
And you're like, what? And I got to be honest.
Even though it says in Wikipedia, and I went through it, I didn't actually read what was going on because I didn't want to be. I wanted to be surprised. I'm like, really? Oh man, I could have known what was going on.
The crazy thing is that ending pissed people off.
I bet.
I heard it pissed some people off like a
No,
lot.
it did good at the box office from
Yeah.
what they can tell. They don't really know, but the box office was.
Well, they didn't keep track of things like that back then.
Yeah, not the way we do now,
No.
where it's like down to the like pi decimal or something. It's like crazy. You can get the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari pretty much anywhere. There are different versions of it that have. The Kino version restored the interstitials that were English that were made for the original premiere in America, and they're really weird and shaped letters and stuff. Most of the versions online, you can find it free on YouTube. Have taken the coloring out. They've done all kinds of stuff. To see the one that we saw, you can rent it from Amazon Prime at $4.99 for a 48-hour rental and watch it and get everything out of it. But I mean, it's a really fascinating film, and I don't know whether I would actually call it scary, but it is horrifying.
There are some scenes that are very disturbing. I mean,
Disturbing is not scary though.
well,
Disturbing can be scary, but in this case, it was just flat out disturbing. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it is. Right?
I think. Well, I consider it more of a psychological horror,
Yeah, it is.
Then,
I think
you
that's
know-
what it is mostly.
boogity horror. That kind of thing.
It's not something that the Scooby Gang's going to be looking into anytime
No, I don't
soon.
think so.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920, directed by Robert Veen and written by Hans Janowitz and Carl Mayer. We urge you to check it out. Coming up in the next few weeks on Subject Cinema, we're going to be looking at more silent films for the silent screams. We do have Nosferatu on the list. There's a few other things that we're looking into.
Yep. And if you've seen a silent film that you want us to check out,
By all means, you can, where to write us, subjectcinema at PNRNetworks.com, and we will try to check it out if we have time.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll have time to get them in. We should have a show. Let me check the calendar here. We should have 5 shows this month.
Yep.
Because Halloween actually falls on a Sunday.
Yep.
So there you go. Okay.
Start buying candy now
Oh, for Pete's sake.
and buy the good stuff.
We are going to be doing some changes to the show. We've mentioned this off and on for the last couple of months. We were waiting for the new equipment. That's what part of the problem was, getting back on the air when we were starting. All of those topics that we mentioned back in July and August, we will get to them later this year or early next year. I haven't forgotten about the advertising or the Billy Wilder or so on and so forth. They will be part of the show eventually.
Yep.
We're going to be launching some other new services and doing some more new stuff with the show, and we hope that you'll be keeping an eye on it. It's basically, we're starting from scratch. Like I said, we have a brand new logo, which is not to say that the old logo was bad. It's not, and you can still see it on the old shows, but this is going to reflect our new version, the new sound, new look, and how we're looking into things in the future. If you didn't get a chance to check out Catastrophe, Vortex, or Mirrorball Mayhem after all these years, those shows went bye-bye on October 1st. They're no longer available on our shows. We do have them, and we'll eventually be able to make them available if somebody wants to hear them. And I probably will put the Catastrophe Vortex stuff into the Subject Cinema feed at some point. But we haven't done Mirrorball Mayhem for like 6 years, so
Nope.
it's like it went bye-bye, even though we were still getting 300 or 400 listens a month on it. So that's interesting. We just couldn't do that anymore. So we do have some new stuff coming too. In addition to the return of Front Row 5 and 10 in time for Christmas, I believe, at least that's what I'm aiming for. We will also, and Tuesday Digidex and 3 Minute Weekend also, and Kim's Platinum Rose Roleplay should get underway at this month sometime, because she's got a couple things she wants to do.
Yes, I do.
And
if you haven't listened to those, I hope you'll go listen to them. I have my own YouTube channel for them. It's called Platinum Rose Roleplay, where there are a bunch of things that I've worked on, voice work and stuff like that. And they're all written by me. They've been mixed and everything like that by TC though,
Yeah.
because he does all the awesome work with stuff like that.
One other thing I think we need to do, I bought some new mic cords, some really heavy duty ones, and I can't find them. And it's really plain. Your mic keeps going up and down.
Sorry.
So it's not your fault. It's the cord. I got to find those cords that I bought. But in any case, and there's also Bring Around the Rosie from Cam. We'll be doing a few video things as well. And of course, I do video stuff all the time on TKR Video Central, which is my video channel for the video for my music website, the Kirkham Report. We are getting into the area on that where we will start seeing some coverage of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest shortly. 6 of the kids are now named, and some of the songs have been named. And, so I will be getting that. I mean, nothing. There won't be any final names on those in some cases until late November, so we won't get into it in a big way, but you'll be seeing it there. We haven't, as I said, we have a couple of new shows planned that will be video in nature and live streams also. We have a few other side things that will be premiering slowly over the next month as I have a chance to finish them, and all kinds of cool stuff coming up in the near future.
Yep.
Stick with us. You stuck with us this long. I mean, we have been on the air for 15 years with this show.
Wow.
Except for the last year and a half when we've just kind of been sporadic. We did it almost every week. And it's like,
Yeah.
are you crazy?
But let's be honest, the world's kind of crazy right now.
Yeah,
so.
we were also doing Front Row 5 and 10. And for one point, we were doing Microfocus. And, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But we love doing this show.
We do.
We'd love to hear from you. subjectcinema@pnrnetworks.com. Please take the time to write to us and let us know what you think and what you'd like to see in the new Subject Cinema. Also, don't forget to listen and to watch her on Twitter at Platinum Rose L. And I am over at eCinemaOne or eCinemaOne, and also TKR online for the music stuff.
Yep.
And keep track of everything as we go forward, because it is going to be there's going to be a lot of new stuff, and we want to get more and more of you involved.
Yeah.
And we hope that you will be willing to do that and be willing to spread the word and know that we are back for good every week from now on.
Yep.
Do you understand?
Yes, I
every
understand.
week from now on.
I understand. And we also want to say, we know that, the last couple of years have been kind of crazy for everybody. It's been kind of scary. But we all have to take the attitude that we're all in this together. And we hope that everybody out there is staying safe. Mask up if you feel like you need it. Definitely get vaccinated.
Yes.
Do what you need to do to feel safe and to keep the people around you safe. And take care, be good to each other, call your grandma, and just
And steal John Moxley's routine again.
well,
We hope you'll stay with us as we go through our Halloween shows in Silent Screams, and we hope you'll check out the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And we hope that you will be with us here every week. Sunday evenings, usually, for Subject Cinema, and it's going to be fun.
it sure is.
Until next time, when we get back into Silent Screams for 2021, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you soon.
We're back, baby!
Woohoo!
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema is copyright 2021 from PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.
15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.